Um, oh, I need to hit start because that helps. Start. Okay, now I'm going to check the sound. How is the sound? A little bit of a delay. Let me try to restart this. I want to see if I can get this delay a little bit less. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm okay. The delay is negotiable. Not ideal, but it's also not killer either. And I'm just making everything sure everything is set up the way I want it to be. We should be good. That's set up well. That's set up well. Awesome, guys. Let's head on out to feed the chickens on this. Yay, yes. Lift the veil, it worked. Thank you, man. If you do exclamation point Jew, it'll also do the ugly Jew. I think I've got that one working now, too. Thanks, Mixer Dude, for the follow. So it's a nice day here today. I would look at that thermostat, but I realized that during this time of day and this time of year, that thermostat is directly attached. The sun hits that thermostat pretty hard, and so that thermostat is it's not as accurate as the other ones could be. So let's start with a quick little peek up at the sky so we can see what the sky looks like. So we got some big, fluffy, wispy clouds, some wispy clouds there. But if you can see the stripe right there, and there's another stripe there and there, a lot of this sky, not all of it, but a lot of this sky is a chemtrail sky. So it's, yeah. They were, if you look here this way, you can definitely see there's a chemtrail being put right there. There's another one running right there. And then like that whole area is a chemtrail that's been slowly expanding since the course of the day. So here you are. The Muscovies are sitting here waiting for me to jump the fence and get ready to feed them. And as you peek right over the fence, you'll see that there's even more because they know that it's let's feed the chicken time. And this guy, he's just so. Now, and Fernando, since he wants to be where the ducks are too. You missed, dude. Close. Okay, guys, I need to go over the fence as well. So we all going over the fence today. Okay. So hope everyone's having a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day here. Like I just said, we just peeked up at the chemtrails. And we're going to, once we get to the barn and get everything set up and a few more people filled in and ready to go, we will start talking a little bit about my theory of chemtrails, why I think chemtrails are important to talk about when you're homesteading and growing food, and my mix between my conspiratorial thoughts and my realistic thoughts. Thanks for the mixer love. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out. All the stuff with mixer, so it won't have as many bells and whistles and all that kind of stuff as the other ones do, because I haven't quite figured out all of the cool stuff with mixers yet. There's all the ducks. You guys get to check out all the ducks and such for just a minute. I will be right back. I have to deal with something. Let's see if I can okay. Just feeding some bunnies, just checking something out. I thought you'd give you guys a quick little oh, you guys get to see the sky and said sorry that everybody knocked it down. Ugh, okay, sorry about that. We had a camera malfunction because of the ducks and such. So I think the first thing we're going to focus on today is I am going to start collecting some water, because I definitely need to get a lot of water today. And after I collect this water, we'll have some more conversations about why I think chemtrails are important. The whole premise of our conversation today. Now, let's make a clear. Let's do a so we're very clear with what I mean by chemtrails. I refer to chemtrails as anything that is a plain exhaust that stays in the atmosphere or stays in the sky for a long period of time. I consider a contrail one of those that disappear shortly after the planes fly over. So if you see planes fly over, and then a few minutes later, all of the clouds that they're making disappear, that is what I call a contrail. And I'm not saying that, and to make also clarification, I'm not actually saying that those are any better or worse. We're having the conversation about the clouds that stay up there and things. So it's loud in here right now. I'm just looking for the containers, which are not in here. Okay. So chemtrails. A lot of you will hear conspiratorial things, that they're spraying us on purpose, that they're trying to manipulate us, they're trying to kill us, that they're doing it for all nefarious reasons. And some of you will even say that it's not real, because maybe you know a pilot, you're a pilot, and you're not purposely spraying it, and you don't have a chemtrail button on your controls and such like that. And I will say, absolutely, I kind of agree with you. I don't believe that the ones that are coming from the bulk of the planes that we see, I don't actually think that it's something nefarious or something done to purposely harm individuals. That being said, we do know that they are purposely, that they have talked about for a long time and have speculated about spraying a grid pattern in the sky. I think it's called solar radiant management. And they've talked about that, and how spraying a grid in the sky and things of that sort can help stop the solar rays from coming in and affecting us. So what I'm talking about does have a lot of base. Yo, Mark, how are you? What I'm talking about and the chemtrails and contrails and solar radiant management and cloud seeding all has bases in science. It's just the thing is we as folks walking around here don't actually know what the difference between everything is. And I think first and foremost that's the biggest issue is that we don't know why, if they are spraying a grid pattern on purpose, which I'm telling you there are absolutely days that it is because the grid pattern is just absolutely too perfect. And now that I've been watching the planes with apps and such, there's just no way. There is no way that that is these grid patterns and such are not purposely put up. Now, like a day like today, we'll peek up there real fast. A day like today where they're just more random, like there's one there, and there's one there, and there's one there. Days like this that are more random, it's easier for me for me to believe that this is not something done on purpose, but a byproduct of jet fuel and how it condensates on the way we currently make engines. What's important about that, though, is that is still chemicals that's going through an engine, and that's becoming a byproduct because there is no way that you can tell me or you can convince me that an airplane burns jet fuel and its byproduct coming out of the end of the jet fuel, counting the end of the jet, does not have pollution in it. There's no way that it converts, our jet engines convert jet fuel to pure water vapors or anything of that sort. So first and foremost, it's a type of pollution, bare minimum, even if you pass no conspiratorial into it at all. The simple fact of how a jet engine works and the byproduct of what's being left over as an exhaust is going to definitely be a chemical. And I think that might be the first very beginning step on taking away the conspiratorial part and sneaking to the truth. Next, I've seen planes that don't look like commercial planes that are also spraying, and they seem to be able to turn it off and on as they've flown over. And they make kind of like a dotted line, or if you remember trying to learn cursive, the center line in cursive so that you knew where that dotted line is, or if you think about a street where you're allowed to pass people on. That off and on phenomenon, there is absolutely no way that I can think of any way scientifically with any way that the atmosphere would make sense on how it would do the regular dotting and such like that. And even if, and to my knowledge, you wouldn't cut the engines off and on in those type of patterns to cause that. So that is something that is being done on purpose for some reason. That reason I don't know. And I'm not pretending to know, but I'm just saying that is an unknown reason. The next if you guys look up Texas crop cloud seeding, you will see that we actually have programs in place to do cloud seeding. And if you watch any of the videos of them doing cloud seeding, it will look very similar to what I'm currently calling chemtrails and such in the sky. Then, and let's not even say why they're doing that. Maybe they're doing that because they think that controlling localized weather is important for bringing in the rain and such like that. And if we want anybody that watched the Olympics, the Chinese Olympics, you'll know that they actually did do a little bit of weather manipulation at that time. Maybe very, very regional, but still weather manipulation. And if you don't believe in weather manipulation, let me explain to you how I can manipulate very, very localized weather here. And actually, I can teach each one of you to manipulate your weather very locally. So after you know the barometric pressure and you see a particular cloud cover, especially if you live higher up so you have more fog, if you start a fire and you make it a really, really smoky fire, you can actually make it rain by just making a really, really smoky fire. And again, it's not necessarily pollution smoky, but like burning leaves and burning stuff that is going to produce a lot of smoke. And you're kind of in a fog scenario where you've already have a lot of fog, you can get it to start raining very, very locally. So, and I've done this many times. I've shown it. Next time I get the opportunity, I'll make a video of it to show you how I can make it happen. And that's just very simple by just burning some leaves or some bales of hay on a really foggy day. So if I can do that with zero tech, then I can just imagine what scientists and people that have some tech can possibly do. Now, again, I'm not necessarily saying that they can control the entire environment, or I'm not even giving any credit to HARP or anything of that sort. I'm just simply pointing out very, very simple chemtrailing and very, very simple things of that sort. Okay, I'm going to show you something. Let's see if I can zoom in on it. I want to show you, actually, it's a great example. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. So there's a chemtrail that you see. If you look right, I don't think we can zoom in far enough. Right there past the chemtrail is a little trail, another plane, and that plane is not leaving a trail. So, okay, so Mark, I will address that. I disagree. And here's the thing. If we go back, I will find the video. I went outside on a full moon with snow on the ground. And this is important. I put I filled up 2 mason jars with the same degree water, the same size mason jars with the exact same type of water from the same spigot at the same time, made sure they were the exact same degrees in the same size mason jars. I put one in direct moonlight and I put one in the shade of a tree so that the moonlight could not actually penetrate down into the jar. They were both buried halfway up in snow. They both had a temperature gauge in them that was calibrated exactly the same. They're like your the temperature gauge that you put in water. Such calibrated exactly the same in the same glass of water, which was a third glass of water that I kept in the house. And I did that, and I checked it 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, and 3 hours. And the two things of water stayed exactly outside, stayed exactly the same temperature. And there was no variance in that. So for that to happen makes me think that the moon does not have a cooler temperature to it. That being said, on the eclipse, the August eclipse, I had a bunch of thermometers set up throughout my entire yard. And during the eclipse, and I didn't have full to whatever that is. It wasn't 100% full. It was about 98 here. I did have a 10-degree temperature drop when the moon crossed in front of the sun. I actually did that for other reasons, not to test the temperature of the moon. So I am not I am not convinced that the moon is a colder light. I have my own theory of the moon, and we can talk about that another day. But I have my own theory of the moon. So back to the chemtrails. So I think that the chemtrails are something to manipulate the sunlight and the soil. And what I mean by I'm not even so sold about the soil. I do think that it has directly affected certain plants when it comes to the way the soil functions and such. But I know for an absolute fact it affects the sunlight because I have ways to check the solar radiance, and I also have natural ways to check the solar radiance, and that is how my plants grow and when they flower and such like that. If I am chemtrailed absolutely crazy or a really cloudy day, either one, I will have a problem with my tomato plants that are outside flowering properly. If during that same time that they're ready to flower, I have real sunny days, they flower very quickly and they produce fruit very, very quickly. So a good example is last year was a very cloudy year with lots of chemtrailing and such like that happening. My tomatoes, ginormous, great, awesome plants, but I didn't get a lot of fruit until late into the year because it wasn't until like August until we started having a lot of days without clouds. I've also done the experiment inside the house where I've shaded the LED lights that I've had going down on my penetrating down onto my tomatoes, and I've also just left the LED lights on, grew them the same, and the plants that had the LED lights shaded did not flower as quickly. So that is why I think chemtrails are dangerous in that scenario. So let me put you right here for just a second, spin you around. Oh, I'm not spinning around yet. Now, I also speculate that there could be stuff with the soil. That there could be speculation that there could be stuff with the soil and such like that. So we got another bunny today. This guy right now, I'm trying to, I'm playing with this bunny right now because I'm trying to put him in a nice safe spot so that he can be safe. Okay. Oh, yeah, I have a couple baby bunnies running around in here. As if you watch some of the folks that got to watch it yesterday, got to see a couple of the ones. Anyway, so the other big thing. So all that being said is that I directly see that the chemtrails are affecting the way my plants flower and grow and such like that. So I am going to start doing some more and more indoor growing in greenhouses, also growing with LED lights, bringing more stuff in. I want to ultimately do a test where I have outside, where I grow stuff both in the same type of soil, but some of the stuff I'm going to grow outside with access to the sun and if the chemtrails are raining down and such on it, and other stuff growing in the exact same soil but inside without the chemical exposure of the chemtrails and under artificial lighting, and try to use the exact same seed stock and do that a few times with a variety of different types of seeds and see if I get any distinguishable difference in how the plants are growing. And the reason for that is to see that if my theory that there are harsh chemicals coming down and affecting the soil quality, which is going to ultimately affect the plants. So this is unfortunately something that's going to take a long period of time. This isn't going to be like I'm probably going to do it for 3 years once I get my greenhouse in place. That way I have variables and I won't just make a quick assumption saying that, you know, just in 1 year it's not going to prove anything, but in multiple years it really could. Because there'll be plenty of other variances too. That's the other issue to this idea. So, that being said, I do think that there are some things with chemtrails that are dangerous and that are done on purpose. I just don't necessarily think it's all of them. So, like I said, during the grid patterns, I think the grid patterns are something that they've planned and they're doing on purpose. I think it's actually more for for radiance, or maybe to hide something in the sky that they don't want us to see. I'm perfectly fine with that being an option too. Coming with the idea that they're trying to kill us all and poison us, I'm not sold on that yet. Doesn't mean I won't be, but I'm not sold on that idea yet. I would say that if they're doing the grid pattern on purpose and they're doing that, the reason they're doing that is to either block out the sun to protect us from solar rays, two, to block something so we can't see something that's happening, and third, which is more of a stretch, is to manipulate the environment for reason X, and I don't know why that is. So all of those reasons are the reasons why I think that indoor gardening and indoor growing is a wave that we should all be thinking about doing. The other perk about indoor growing is we have a lot more control over that localized environment. So if you happen to live a place that's got really hot temperatures or really cold temperatures, or if in my scenario where we're having these crazy fluxes in the day where it's getting to like 80 and then it's dropping all the way down to 20, which can be really hard on a lot of plants and such. Being able to have a little bit more cushion by growing inside is uh is definitely something I think that we as a community and as farmers and as growers and as gardeners and such should be thinking a lot more about. And it's also a good buffer. No, no, yes, I agree with us. I agree with you, Mark. It probably is. It could have something to do with that. I CO2 as a pollutant is absolutely BS. Absolutely BS. And I love the fact that the simplest way to reduce our CO2 levels, let's just say, let's for the sake of argument, let's say that the CO2 is making the planet warmer. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying for the sake of this argument. Let's say that this excess of CO2 is making the planet warmer, and that's bad. Well, the easiest way to fix that is plant a bunch of trees. Because not only do trees sequester carbon, they also produce more oxygen. By producing more oxygen, you're going to change the balance between the amount of CO2 and the amount of oxygen in our air. So planting a tree, it's cheap, it's fast, easy tech, and when we're ready to harvest that tree can produce food, that tree can produce fuel, so like we can burn it or we can do other things with it. That tree can also provide shelter for humans and for animals. So if folks were really genuinely concerned about the CO2 levels making the planet hotter, if that was a genuine concern of scientists, all they would say is all we would need to do is plant more plants that sequester carbon dioxide. And that's not, and yes, there are some out there. Like there's I know I saw Trump last night or the other night say that he made the commitment of the planting the trillion trees and things of that sort. So that's that's an end all. We don't need to be having the rest of the conversation about the greenhouse effect and CO2 and its dangers is done once you start planting trees. So me personally, in the last 15 years, I've planted somewhere in the vicinity of 10 to 15,000. I'd have to actually look at my final numbers. I might have even planned a few more than that. And, I was really on board. I was really on top of all this. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I have heard that too. They've said that the uh, that the rainforest is a that the rainforest, what is it? That it's a net. greenhouse emitter. And I understand their theory behind that because technically it is a greenhouse emitter, but it's only a greenhouse emitter if you accept that water vapors are the largest greenhouse gas and affects the environment the most. And you're going to hear most people not say that. So, okay. Food. So the thing is, okay, so the thing is going back is why so one of the things that I'm really focusing, I just ordered another one. I just ordered another one. Is that I'm going to be doing I'll be teaching I'll do the video and I'll teach another thing about. No, you're right. If the rainforest is actually emitting all of the really negative greenhouse gases, then yes, cutting it down and turning it into a parking lot would be the best option. And if you logically think of that would make any sense, then you know that can't be true. You know that that's absolutely ridiculous. So that is what is Sorry, I keep looking. We got this bunny. This bunny right here is acting kind of funny, and so I'm just keeping an eye on it to see what's going on. So that's why my mind keeps jumping. Why it sounds like I'm not paying as much attention is I'm just trying to figure out what was going on over here. So that's it. But anyways, what I was saying is I'm gonna start probably later. Probably I don't know. It's got about a week or so before it comes in, but I'm gonna show you how to build a very very inexpensive aeroponic system, and I'll do it on live stream, and I'll make a couple videos of it as well, just to make sure that even folks that don't get to catch it then, you'll be able to everybody will be able to see how it works, and we'll all be on the same page, because there's something there's something about chemtrails that I think we need to dig more into. But before we focus most on the why and how to solve it and things of that sort, we should have a solution on if it's something bad, if it is something bad, instead of just being scared of the bad things happening, how we actually can solve it with our own with science and our own community and such. So, oh, silly guys, silly ducks everywhere. Okay, got one more little guy to get outside, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, let's go get this guy fed outside. Let's go get this guy fed outside, and I will do my best to not be so preoccupied with all of the silliness here on the farm, and we can talk more about everything. And I mean, and really, if I'm gonna still be preoccupied with feeding and such, I just have to balance out what I'm preoccupied with. So, where was I at? I was at talking more about chemtrails. So, Mark, what do you, since you're in here, and this is out to anyone that's in the chat right now. What are chemtrails? Do you guys think that they are nefarious and they're real and they're here for a particular reason, a particular bad reason, or do you have or do you think something else? Do you have a different idea behind what chemtrails are for, or do you think that it's just a bunch of baloney, and it's just what happens when planes fly over. 'Cause I am kind of interested. I've heard a lot of different people talk about their theories of chemtrails. I mean, in here, let's peek up at the sky again just to show you that when I say that they've been chemtrailing since we've been talking, so you can see, let's zoom in just a little bit, so you can see how there's more and more clouds and more trails being put up in the sky as we talk. Now, I don't consider this is nothing like a grid pattern. This is very random. I have my own theories on why they're doing this today. I think that they're ready to manipulate the weather, and I would say in the next 2 or 3 days we're going to have a huge weather shift, and that's why they're doing this right now. Because I haven't seen anything directly with the sun. Sometimes if it looks like we're going to have a super strong solar rays or solar wind or anything like that, I'll also see a lot of it done up in the sky, but I've been paying close attention to the space weather, and I haven't noticed anything about that. Tomorrow, I think we're going to talk more about space weather, and I'm going to talk some more about, because some of you might find it rather interesting. Yeah, see, that's kind of Mark, that's kind of where I'm at too. I think that there's a lot of different things going on. I don't think it's just I don't think there's just one thing that we can pinpoint. I think that and I think that that might be actually the little trick to it, is that there's multiple things going on. I'm stepping outside for just a minute, guys. I have to here for just a minute. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Like I said, it's always something interesting, always something new, always something interesting to address every single day. So just trying to figure out what we're doing there. Anyways, yeah, I just I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. I don't think we'll ever find out, but I do think we're going to always find clues, and I do think that there's always tons of clues to find out what the theory is behind the chemtrails and all that kind of good stuff is. But that's again why I'm saying that for the sake of a well thought out plan, why I'm doing things like choosing to do some more growing inside, start adding my plants inside, start creating food that I can grow inside, or keeping the seeds that do really well under the super cloudy, crazy weather that we're currently experiencing. So the reason you can't see me is because I am down here looking for something in particular, and I found what I'm looking for, so we're good. I have a couple little baby bun-buns in here that I'd like to move someplace else. And so I am trying to get those baby bun-buns at the particular moment. I will show you them as soon as I catch them. I got one. Here's one baby bun-bun. There's one. I caught one. And I just need to get the other guy. And he is squished up in a really tight little spot. He's found a really good little hiding spot. which I can get him at the particular moment. So he's going to have to stay in there, and I'll get him in a few minutes. Sometimes they find little, really cool little hiding spots, and they do a good job of hiding in those. And I don't think I brought water into these guys yet. I have not. So the next is we're going to go, as soon as I get this bun in just a second, we're going to go get some more water. Oh, actually, wonderful news, friends. I found some water. A lot of it's frozen, but it's okay because it's still water that I need. Oh, by the way, if you're interested in my Discord, I think I got the link to work. If you do !Discord, it should bring up the link, and you can go to the Discord. And I'm going to actually start talking. I'm actually going to start bringing in more and more types of stories in there that we can talk about. Links to stuff that, links to some of the farming stuff that we've talked about. Links to some of the homesteading. I'll probably put some different types of videos. Maybe in the near future, we can do some screenings of some of the different types of agricultural videos. Awesome, it worked. Great. Thank you, Dan. That is spectacular. That is my Discord. Anybody's welcome to join. We can play around on there. But I want to do some screenings. I want to do some conversations. If anybody's interested in the future, that's the Discord that we'll be able to, when we do call-ins and such like that, I plan on having it set up like that because that's the easiest I can do on my phone. So that is kind of the wave of the future that I'm kind of prepping in place. Right now, you'll see that there's not a whole lot on there. I'm converting everything. I used to have a Slack channel, and I'm kind of converting everything from my Slack channel over into Discord really slowly and making it all function very well. So that's actually probably the easiest way, besides email, the easiest way to get a hold, to get a hold of me, because I spend way too much time on Discord, and I think it's a really spectacular, awesome program. So, but yeah, and that's the other thing is if there's things that you would like me to talk about, or you have some general questions, or you think there's some episodes that we should be covering, or just some everyday things that you would like to hear dealing with farming or crypto or plants or agriculture or husbandry or anything that I have any skill set in, I would love to hear people's feedbacks and write it in there, and I will do some research and set up a show based on that kind of stuff as well. Because the whole purpose of this is to educate you guys. So that's the whole reason I'm doing this and talking about everything we do and coming with me, and the reason it's such a spectacular cinematography here is it's because the whole purpose is here just for us to have an idle chit chat and just to get to know each other better and talk and maybe teach you guys a few things and share my everyday life of what it's like to be on a farm, a homestead. If you've watched most of these, you'll see that this is, I think, episode 34, and you'll notice that they're pretty repetitive. That this is kind of what I do every day. Now we talk about different things, and that's what makes this super exciting. And the last couple of days we've had some exciting stuff. We've had baby bunnies, and in the very near future, when I start hatching chicks, you'll start seeing baby chicks and baby ducks. And so there'll be a lot of excitement in the late spring. But in general, every day is very similar to the same, with always a new challenge, because something is always broken, something new is born, some chaos has happened, somebody is busted out of a cage, something crazy, an ice storm came through. But in general, except for the craziness of life and the excitement, every day is making sure that all the bunnies and all the chickens have food and such. So, okay, so Mark, I have a tough time convincing you the world's flat because I have no idea what the shape of the Earth is, and I don't know how to. I don't think it's possible for me to know the shape of the Earth. Now, I would like to have a conversation. I think we could have a fun conversation on why I don't think it's a spinning ball at the size that they say it is. But I'll get a little bit of data and we can have a conversation about that. So I think I can comfortably have a good conversation about why it's not this, it's not the size that they say it is and why it's not a spinning ball. But to come off and say that it's flat, um, I I can't say that either because I have some major issues with the flat Earth theory because even the disk Earth theory is interesting and the infinite plane where it's kind of like a Pac-Man game or where it sorry that's the Pac-Man theory or the infinite plane theory where it is where it's ever expanding like a game of Minecraft. All of those are very interesting, but to me, there's no way to. I can't here on the farm in my everyday life. I can't prove any of those being true. So the only thing that I can say that's easy for me with the way I look at things is the sky. Yeah, I'll have to do that one day. It might not even be a Let's Feed the Chickens. It might just be a show that I do, or I might just do a Let's Feed the Chickens with some side notes and such like that. But yeah, you're probably right. If I played the tag and just had an honest conversation, because that's the thing is I just want to have honest conversations with folks. Um, I don't want to convince you. I don't. And I'm not trying to make anybody change their mind. I'm just trying to lead you down. I know I think of things in different directions than other people do, and some a hypocrite being wrong sometimes and admitting that I'm wrong and going in a different direction. But I would like to have an honest, fun conversation with some folks about the shape or speculate the Okay, am I still glitchy? Still, wow, it is super glitchy. Wow. Okay, guys, let me fix this because it got super glitchy and I can't actually, it's so glitchy at the particular moment, I can't actually fix it from my phone. So we're gonna have to walk back to the house, which is not a big deal because I can walk back that way. But hopefully you can still hear me. I'm actually gonna try to fix it on the way to the house. But yeah, weird, man, super, super crazy today. That's funny that that whole thing just jumped on the screen though. I don't know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, um, this is silly. But I'm heading back to the house to fix this. The audio is good. Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad the audio is good. That's a start. I'll just do this. That should solve that. We'll bring this back up. You guys get to see how horrible. Okay, good. You guys get to see my little sneak preview of how I do everything set up on behind, kind of a behind the scenes type thing, because let's see if that's good enough. Okay. One more, raise this up just a little bit more. Almost ready, guys, sorry. It made me close this because I accidentally clicked it all the way open. Whatever, good enough. We'll do this right there. Well, okay, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it. Okay, back to where we were at. So, you know, it's funny. It seems to happen a lot. I get really caught up in a good conversation, and then my phone, my hardwired, which is insane. My Ethernet computer, the one that's hardwired directly into the modem, seems to have issues. And what's crazy is I watch a lot of people's streams, even when I'm streaming. So like even when I have OBS running and everything like that. And I almost never have connection issues when that's happening, when I'm watching anybody else. But I'm streaming on my phone, which I don't use my internet when I'm streaming. I don't use my house internet when I'm streaming on my phone. I actually use the regular internet. But it's my browser on my PC that is hardwired is the one that always seems to have the connection issue while I'm streaming. So, no. That's trying to think to be conspiratorial, and in reality, I am way too small of a fish for anybody to ever be trying to do anything silly and fun like that. So, oh yeah, if you've not seen my house, let's go look at it real fast. If you've not seen my house, yeah, the house I bought this house 15 years ago, and it needed a lot of work. And so we restored it. We've been doing some restoration. We've been doing some restoration for a while, but always forget that some people have not seen. So if you want to see some of the work that I've done on the house is on the internet. Mavis Manor is my website, but you can also get on Wikipedia. The house has a Wikipedia site and such as well. So we'll come. So there is. I'll slow down as soon as I get to past this tree, so you guys can see it from this side. But yeah, the house was supposedly built in 1897. It's man, is it a spectacular house. It's I love old houses, especially Victorian houses. So so the house has been a variety of different colors. Right now we're going with a gray because last time we had to paint it. It went from a yellow to a gray. This gray's a little bit nicer. But yes, it's yeah, built in 1897. It's got wormy chestnut in it. It's a spectacular place. So hope you guys can you'll have to, like I said, any of you guys that come down, you can definitely come down here and such. Oh man, the old bones and old houses are just spectacular. There is just something I personally, unless I build my house myself, I will probably never live in another house on purpose. I'll probably never live in another house on purpose that isn't at least 100 years old. Old places, man. They're built right. There's so much character. There's so much charm. They are just a spectacular things. So I got this awesome gazebo. It's just a really fun porch to sit on. This is the road I live on. This is why I don't have an address. Cool. You have a Queen Anne. I'd like to actually see if on Discord. I think you're on my Discord. I'd like to see a picture of your house. I love old houses of all kinds. Like one of my passions. Actually, that's actually the main reason that brought me here to Southern West Virginia was that house because of how spectacular it is. And there was rumors that the people that were also looking at buying it before us or around us wanted to tear it down because, well, we live in like here in Southern West Virginia, people don't like old things. My house is absolutely perfect for scary movies. It's a really fun place. When I ran it as a bed and breakfast for years, I used to have people come and do a paranormal investigation and such here, and they loved people loved the paranormal investigation stuff, and it was really pretty cool. So hey, thank you so much for the lemon. So we're following a rabbit back to the barn. Oh, and the road that we've been walking on since we've been on the house. This is the original West Virginia Turnpike, and it goes up the mountain and up that way. And if any of you guys are history buffs or you like anything about history, this road that we're walking up and right up on that ridge right there during the Civil War, some people they camped out. I think it was McKinley and Taft. It was called Camp Flat Top, and they camped out up there during the Civil War. And so part of the Civil War journals, I've read them, and some people's given me some copies of some of their old family Civil War journals and such. And so I have a lot of cool old history about this particular area and such. So and my gate's being silly and not wanting to let me in. So okay, back to the bunnies because I think we should be good now. It, my other camera's down, but it looks like in general you can see me, and fundamentally that's what's most important when we're having this wonderful conversation today. So I do need to see if I can catch that baby. So I'd like to know where he's at. So it'll just be a second if you, as long as you can hold on for a second so I can catch this other little baby. Oh, 5, maybe some of them are 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old. Um, I did it for spiritual Zen reasons. So a lot of woo woo. Um, how did I start off with dreads? So yeah, that's a funny story. So I started off with dreads because um, I just I always wear hats, and I wanted to grow my hair longer, and I had this idea of wanting to grow my hair nice and long at a particular point. So I just started growing my hair long, and then didn't wash it or brush it for like a year or longer, and it just naturally matted up and dreaded up. And so then I spent some time quite a few years ago learning how to separate the mats because it was just a matted, gross, nasty mess. And so I just spent some time figuring out how to address the mats. And so I cut it up, addressed the mats, and now I have dreads. And then some of these, like this one's actually mostly all fake. It's mostly just wool, but everything else is just reinforced with either wool or with my regular hair. And it's uh, it's a mix between a spiritual thing with the way I view the world and a just a lifestyle stuff. I've always wanted dreads. Um, my my woman, she likes dreads. She thinks it's cool. It also I don't like symmetry. So like that's why I only have dreads on one side and I usually keep my hair shorter on the other side. And this was a good way to balance. This was a good way to keep the symmetry to so I the asymmetry and such that I enjoy. And it's also falls into that category. It's just something that not everyone's doing down here. So I like to not blend in, but I also the other perk of this though is that I have it set up so I can actually curl it up around and tuck it away pretty easily. So if I need to be a gray man and I need to blend in, or if I need to be in a situation, I can actually bring it. It's what's really easy now is I can bring it around. I can tuck it in around this ear, and I can usually with a nice hat or something, I can set it up so you can't really tell I have dreads. That's kind of the whole purpose of why I do a lot of stuff is I will still want to have my own unique personality, but I've been in plenty of situations where I need to not stand out and need to not peacock. And so I try to balance all of my crazy ideas and some of my crazy wardrobes so that I can easily not peacock. So I can easily not stand out. So a lot of times you'll see my dress is I usually wear I have a very interesting fashion sense, but I usually always have an extra set of clothes or something like a hoodie or something to throw over whatever I'm wearing. So if I'm in a scenario where I just need to blend, so like I'll give you an example. Like I'll tell you, so I am a survivalist. I borderline prepper, if you want to call it, if you want to call me that. But like I have a full Marine military uniform in my car with a name tag, with my name tag and with a rank and everything. Yeah, we can go see the pig in just a second. So I have all that set up so that if I ever get into a particular scenario, now my beard does make everything a lot harder. I probably should just get a Navy outfit next because that makes things a little bit easier. But yeah, I do all that. So in a scenario, if I ever need to get through a checkpoint or something like that, I have a uniform so that I can blend in or get through something like that. So anyways, we're gonna go see the pig. So we're gonna go off and see Sylvia. Actually, since we're gonna go see Sylvia, let's just give her some food too. So let's go get some food for the pig and go say hi to her because that's the fun stuff today. So what a gray man is a gray man is someone that blends in that you would walk past on the streets and not realize who they are. Like they look so common. They look just like everybody else. Yes, that is exactly what a gray man is. A gray man is someone that you can't tell. that you is absolutely forgettable. So here's Miss Sylvia. She's got some popcorn. Sylvia. So some popcorn she's eating right now. I did not serve, but I took 8 years of ROTC and was pretty much ready and pretty much was going to go through all the steps. I was planning on being an officer in the Air Force, and that was part of my life goal. And then a lot of crazy stuff happened in the world, like 9/11 happened during that time. And I still was actually going to serve after 9/11. And then just some other stuff happened, and my mindset looking at what the government's role was and how they treated their soldiers and such like that led me to choose not to continue on that path after really kind of focusing on that. And then I almost again joined the Coast Guard later on. So, and then I was really going to join the Coast Guard. I was going to be a coastie. I was going to do the Coast Guard reserves. I really liked the way the Coast Guard was set up, but um, I have a um I have a mark on my file because I was a hacker when I was a kid, and what I wanted to do in the Coast Guard and my FBI file didn't necessarily jive, so I didn't continue on with. The Air Force didn't care so much about that. The Coast Guard did. So, yep, this is a Sylvia. She's a 600-pound pig. So she came. We got her as a piglet. She came running off the mountain. Some people comment yesterday she's dirty. She's dirty because she hasn't got a chance to get in there and swim because it's been so cold. And she learned a long time ago to not go swimming and to not get, a good bath when it's really, really cold outside, because one year she did that and she was kind of like really, really pink because she got so cold, and we had to actually like dry her off and use hair dryers and such to heat her back up because she just didn't realize those little things. So, and yes, I do feed her on the ground. Some of you might think that's kind of gross. We used to have containers. We used to have these really nice containers and such to feed her in, and she would just pick it up and she would dump the food on the ground, and then she'd knock the container out of the way. And I switched to cement, and she would break the cement containers. I switched to like official pig things, and she would rip them off the wall and then dump the food on the ground. So, so a lot of times she spent. So a lot of times she spends a lot of time just eating food on the ground now. So that's kind of what we. That's kind of what we do. I I feel bad because it seems gross to me, but that's how she prefers it. Even when we put something in there, she will actually throw things around on the ground just to make sure it's on the ground. So, okay, so that's the difference. The Coast Guard, or the Air Force did, the Coast Guard did not. I was applying for two distinctly different jobs. So, what I was applying for in the Coast Guard had nothing to do with what my mark on my file was. So that's kind of the big difference there. What I was going to go into the Air Force, what I was going to go into the Air Force for, that mark would have not hurt me. It would actually have. They liked the fact that I knew a lot about computers and I knew how to manipulate my way around a lot of stuff. The Coast Guard, on the other hand, I was going more for like environmental aspects and such like that, and that wasn't as useful. That wouldn't have been as useful for the Coast Guard. So, and I've never officially seen what my mark is. Other people have, so that's why I actually refer to it as a mark. I know what I got in trouble for, but again, I have not seen how it was written down. So, I also do know that there's no reason for me to do a Freedom from Information Act on myself because it's whatever it is, it's blacked out. I do know that from when I applied for the Coast Guard, so because I was not able to see it. So yeah, pigs are spectacular. Pigs are one of So I was afraid of pigs for a long time, and I didn't really like pigs. And then after having a pig and seeing how absolutely intelligent and smart they are, and seeing just the stuff about the pigs, and just the problem solving. Like we had to double fence and we had to take away locks, and I had to redo fences and such because of how she would figure out how to problem solve and open it up. She actually figured out how to open up those little clip locks. She actually figured out how to open those clip locks, and so we had to use a different type of lock because she would use her mouth or a stick or a bunch of other stuff and either break it off or unlock it to then know that she could take her nose and open up the gate and such. Of the stuff that we did. So things that we did is part of the read tells you not to ever give away your password or your username or anything of that to the average folks. Is um, we got a lot of accounts back in the day. And once we got a lot, there's a whole lot more that you could get, and you just needed to know very simple coding and psychology to get past that. A lot of my hacking and a lot of the stuff that I did when it comes to that was more psychology. I had the psychology background. I was the one that knew the right questions to ask and things of that sort. And I had a very basic computer skill. I had a very basic programming skill set, but my basic programming skill set was enough to then get me into the talking with the person, the psychology that I needed to get to the next steps in what we were trying to accomplish. So um, I never, just for clarification, I never actually stole anyone's money. I never paid for an AOL account. Um, I and I nothing that I did. Well, some of the stuff would probably be illegal today, but what I did back then technically was never truly illegal. So now you're asking about this virus, and I'm very intrigued about that one. I've been reading a lot about it. I'm not scared. Personally, I'm not scared because I'm around chickens and I'm around chickens and pigs all day long. So I know that I have a different immunity than the average person. I do understand that those are all mutations. I would genuinely be concerned if I caught one of those diseases because I would be afraid that I would actually give it to my animals. And so, like, if I would start showing, if I was around someone that had symptoms or that was exposed to those, I would probably not go out. Or if I did go out and feed my animals, I'd probably be wearing a mask and gloves that day because I would rather not get my animals sick and be another um, virus cross barrier. Because so what can happen is if you get that disease and then you would go and you tend to your animals and your animals would get sick, it would then jump from you to back to your animals, and then your animals would morph it again, and then if it came back and was able to go to humans again, you've now just created a brand new virus. So that's why if you hear a lot of the times you're going to hear that those viruses come from folks that either evolve in the agriculture or belong to the meat, like in the food market. Going to the about if you knew how to contact the bank's computer systems, or you knew the early days of I mean, honestly, the we did most of our stuff on the early days of like AOL, CompuServe, Prodigy, folks that would give us way more information than they were supposed to. We would run around and send faxes to particular places to see if we would get some information back. Yeah, Bill and Melinda Gates, they intrigue me a lot. Um, I want to say I'm not a fan. I say that out of the utmost respect for folks that have benefited from all of their grant money that they have given away. I have indirectly benefited from a grant that they set up. So um, like the microflush toilet, he did that because of like the most. Yeah, I saw my listen to him talk, and he's very creepy to me. That's that whole population to zero, because I know basic math, and the way he did that speech, and that's not the only time he's done a speech like that. I've had other friends that's actually seen him, and he's like that in a lot of ways. And here's the thing. Um, if I step back out of being a good person and I say, you know what, I'm just going to look out for humanity and I'm going to look out for the planet, I understand their depopulation mindset. If you're brainwashed to think that there's not enough food, there's not enough resource, and there's too many people, I then understand why they think depopulation is the answer. I don't agree with that, but I also put myself in those type of minds. Like, we've all seen it. We've all gone out in public and you meet some people that are just ridiculous, or just, you're you're Tide Pod eating morons, and you're just like, Darwin's gonna win. And then sometimes you think, well, what if I could just help Darwin a little bit? Now, of course, none of us are going to do that because we're good people, and and we have a conscience, and we understand that people make silly mistakes and they can learn from their mistakes and they can become good people. But some of these elite and some of these really powerful people, if you see so much silliness and so much bad, it gets harder and harder for them to justify why they should be wanting to keep so many people alive. And so I understand where they're coming from. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Oh, when you start homesteading and you start farming and you start understanding stuff, you understand that it is an absolute farce. That scarcity. I don't believe anything's scarce, to be honest with you, anymore. I just think that we just don't know how to get it, or it's just something that we don't effectively use. So, I mean, I've seen some crazy, crazy stuff about how um, I've seen some really, really crazy stuff about how to use turning wood, gasification of wood, and running your cars with gasification of wood. I've uh, I've seen the videos of turning blue-green algae into usable motor oil. So now, are there places that are crowded? Oh, absolutely. There are places that have issues. And I think that those can all be addressed in a lot of different ways. And I think it's important to address the difference between overcrowding and overpopulation. And I think there's a huge difference between something that's overcrowded and overpopulated. And it might sound like we're talking about the exact same thing, but the truth is overpopulated means that there's not room. We don't know where to put all these other people, and there's not room to put them someplace else. Overcrowded means that we either need to do more stack and packs and be more efficient at the way people are living in their housing and the way that they're doing their stuff, or we need to relocate them to someplace else so that they can thrive instead of just survive where they're currently how they're currently living and such. So, and yeah, there's a lot of see, I think everything can be solved with very basic common sense. I think that we can solve. I mean, I've told. I, I don't know. I'm gonna have a. We're gonna talk about this one day very soon. But I've talked about how we can solve poverty with just a little bit of education, how we can solve the poverty with, I mean, world hunger is a joke. We can easily, I know that throw away so much perfectly animals. And so those are other things that are just really easy to do, and we just don't. And part of the reason we don't is because we don't realize, we haven't been told, we haven't been taught, we don't quite understand yet that it is absolutely that easy. And it's not our fault, but it is our fault too. And that's why, and I say this a lot, but it's why my whole purpose is to make sure to spread as much information to those that want or need to know, because the way we're going to solve everything is just sharing. Is sharing our knowledge, sharing what we know, sharing what we're good at, and things of that sort. But yeah, I mean, poverty can be solved. Hunger can be solved. Um, I don't know of any, like, let's talk about a scarcity. Let's say that they're saying that some of these things that make our smartphones are super expensive. These little super harsh chemicals that they need to mine, or these rare earth material. Well, if that's the case, we should be recycling every one of our cell phones and re-extracting that out. And the other thing is, why isn't anybody doing that? Because it's got to be cheaper to extract that mined material out of a cell phone than it is to extract it out of the ground. I mean, it's got to be easier to do that. And we just don't, because reasons. I'm going to say we don't because people haven't thought that far yet. Because we haven't gone the duh, let's just extract it back out of our phone and take all that stuff that we are spending all this time digging into the side of the mountain to get, when we know where it's at. It's in a little metal box that, because it's so, I could probably solve it with just a this, and sharing this with all you guys is why this is how we're going to fix everything and how we're going to make the world better. And yes, I'm wrapping this up because my battery life is at 11 and I did not bring my charger today. And I just don't really like when my phone just dies, so I'm going to try to make it back to the house. Yeah, see, I don't, but I still own every single one of my old phones and every single one of my old computers, because I always find ways to reuse them for a variety of different reasons. But that is awesome. I think that's so cool that there's people that that do electronic mining and know how to know how to pull the stuff out of our current devices. That is just so spectacular and so cool. And maybe one day I can get somebody to teach me how to do that, because like I said, I've kept every cell phone I've ever owned. So I feel bad about throwing them away and having them go to a landfill, or not being able to use them like something, I don't know. I'm weird like that, okay? So let's take one more quick look at the sky before my phone dies so we can all peek at it. So most of there's still a little bit of chemtrail reverence there, but most of them is actually blown away. So that's kind of good. Okay, friends. It was wonderful chatting with you today. I know we always talk about lots of weird stuff, and that's what makes it so much fun. And I'm so thankful for all you guys that choose to participate and ask your questions, and we all just have a good old time. I have a Discord. If you haven't followed, if you haven't joined my Discord or you haven't heard about my Discord, you can do exclamation point Discord in the chat, and it'll send you to a link of that kind of stuff. Hey, Luna, and that'll send you a link to my Discord, and where we can carry on this conversation. We can carry this conversation and such more and more. And yeah, Luna, my phone's about to die, so I'm wrapping it up before it completely comes to an end. And if anybody is interested and you'd like to see what we make, is you can go, if you type in exclamation point shop, you can see our Etsy store. Right now we just have bags, but we're also putting some hats and some other home locally made stuff here. So the bags are actually my feed bags that we converted to grocery bags, and then Lisa makes the hats and some of the other stuff that you'll see on there. So those are things that you'll be able to see. And anyways, friends, 9. My phone has got probably about 30 to 45 seconds left before it forces me to sign off. So I'm going to thank you again, everyone, for watching today. Again, every day at 15, probably moving into 15:45 now, but every day at 15:40. Oh, Luna, do exclamation point Discord, and I'll do that in just a few minutes in the when I get back in. But anyways, friends, thank you for watching. It was wonderful. Every day, make sure you find me here at 15:45. And yeah, my name's Justin. I'm the Baron, Dr. Firefly, whatever you'd like to call me. Thank you guys all for watching. Till next time, you have yourself a wonderful rest of the day. Adios.